and welcome to Add More Zest. And my name's Rebecca, and it is time for our Sunday WIP and Waffle. I actually got quite a decent amount done since the last WIP and Waffle. I had a session. I had a really long session. So Cyril now has a face. I have just taken off the last of the plastic cover. So I have 2 and probably a half. If you see, it's probably a bit less than a half of cover paper. So once I've done this strip, I will then be taking off the 2 at a time. I always do that when it comes near the end. I'm always like, yes, it feels like it's finishing more if I do it this way. But we are starting to get into some sections with a lot more white. So basically, I've just pulled out my whites. I've just pulled out only the white, and I thought we'll see how far we get with comments, questions, and just get a load of white done. And I may continue to move along because there are scatterings of white. And then I think the next one up, there ends up being sort of a gap, you know, where the tail swooshes up and the body curves over. And yeah, we might just continue with white. I might get bored and decide to do another colour. But we're chatting and we're diamond painting. And sometimes this is what it ends up being. If I'd have got a chance to diamond paint last night, I probably would have sat and done all the white and then filled in all the colour while on the WIP and Waffle. But I ended up going and messing with diamond industrials. So Megan, well, we've been mulling it over for a while. And we get a lot of sort of final bits finalised, or bits finalised, decisions fully made, rather than just mulling them over and things when Megan is off school. So it is currently the Easter holidays, end of term. So we've been ticking some things off the list. Some things are quite tedious, like the little leaflets that go in our parcels. We are running out. We have nearly run out. So like they needed redesigning with the new sort of slightly updated logo and updated colours, and all sorts of bits like that that needed doing. We needed to check postage prices because they've all changed. There's listings that we needed doing ready for an upcoming launch, all those sorts of things. I try to cram as many of those things into half term so that Megan doesn't have to do a lot at all throughout the rest, throughout term time. But one of the things we needed to bear in mind is we will be getting more colours of diamond industrials in square. And the way we had it set up before, we had it set up with the little drawers that I use for my cover paper and diamond industrials in my craft room. We had those set up on the top of a unit, and they held both the round and the square diamond industrials that were bagged up because they come to us in huge bags. So they had them in, we had them in there with a divider in between the two. But they take up quite a bit of space. Also, if somebody's ordering, say, a paint gem set, or has chosen to order the full set of diamond industrials, all the ones that we currently have, then it is a bit of a pain to pick and pack them. It's not a huge pain in any way, but when you're going into every single drawer to just take out one packet, it doesn't need to take that long. It can be quicker. We originally wanted pegboards, but we didn't want to affix anything to the wall in the shop. Our house is made of brick and plaster. Used to drilling into that, got zero problems with it. The shop is plasterboard, so it's insulated, but then it's wood frame and plasterboard, and we're a little bit more dubious of things like that. Plus, if you know Megan and I, if you've followed the channel for a while, you will know that as things change, we like to adapt and change things to go with it. So we are constantly changing up the storage or moving around the storage more than anything. We're very often moving things around to whatever suits the season that the business is in, and what needs to be front and centre storage wise. So yeah, we had a rethink and a revamp and a brainstorming session, and took our little selves to IKEA on Thursday night. I think it was Thursday night. Took ourselves to IKEA. We have managed to get the pegboards, the Zesties pegboards, the same ones I have in my craft room, and they actually do a connector for you to fit the pegboard onto the side of a wardrobe. So it's made so that you can, it's got like a, hang on, let me get that white one off. It's got like a piece that sits on the top of the wardrobe, and then it comes down and then it comes out a bit to allow you to put the likes of the pegs in. So yeah, they do a connector for going on a wardrobe. So we figured out a way that we could connect it to a relatively cheap unit rather than connecting it to the wall, which has worked out so much better. So on Friday night, last night, I ended up in the shop pottering, putting all the diamond dust drills that we already have packaged on their little pegs. I did put a picture in the Facebook group, but I had a whale of a time getting them all up ready. I'm actually excited to bag up the colours that are missing, because I know it's just going to look so good as I go and fill them up. It's going to look so pretty as I restock the shelves. There's a few of them that have ran out over this last week, and I haven't restocked them, knowing full well that we would be revamping it. So yeah, that was what I spent last night doing, rather than, it's a long way of saying, rather than doing a bulk load of white, sat down. We've then been in this morning and tidied up all the other things that we moved about, and there's also been a few cupboards that just needed a good old sort out. Things that hold packing supplies and things, it was more those cupboards that just needed a bit of a blitz. So we've done that. Today I had 4 things I wanted to do today. One was sort out the bits in the shop that we'd moved about, get everything sort of tidied up and squared away, which we did together. There was then still some bits left from when I filled up the car with all of the stuff left from my brother and sister-in-law's house while they were in England. So I sorted out the last of those bits that need to go to the charity shop. So they've got put in the car, ready to go on Monday. I had about 2 weeks worth of clean washing that had collected. Maybe 2 weeks is a bit harsh. A week and a half. a week and a half's worth of washing in various piles in my bedroom, because by the time it got to the second pile, I just did not have it in me to sort through whose was whose washing. So that was my third thing, and then my fourth was I then wanted to just clean through the house. So yeah, I got all that done today. I've had a very productive day. It is the last day of nice weather for us today. It does say, or it forecasts for us, rain tomorrow. However, that is at about 6 o'clock in the morning. And then it is just cloudy for the rest of the day. However, it goes from being 20 degrees Celsius today to 12 tomorrow. And all the weather is showing me for next week is 12 to 13 degrees and rain every day. Now, whether that rain is through the night or not, I haven't looked in depth, but suffice to say, April showers are next week. So I thought I'm going to do my whip and waffle tonight while I am still, before I've stopped, while I'm still going, so that I don't have to wake up tomorrow and think, oh, I've got to get that done. I can do what I like. I'm probably not going to edit it tonight. I'm probably going to edit it in the morning. But yeah, I was like, no, I'm going to come and chat with the Zesties, diamond paint, and then I know it's all done. And tomorrow, I don't quite know what I'm going to do yet. I am completely and utterly playing it by mood. I'm going to see what I fancy. I could start a new quilting project. I could sit and diamond paint all day. I could finish up my quilt kit that I got from when I did a series of sew days. That's my long-term quilting project. I did some of it last weekend though, so I do feel as though I've done some recently. Or I may just sit and do nothing, or we may decide to go out somewhere. Who knows? We shall see what tomorrow brings. But all jobs have been done today. And hubby's just nipped out to see a friend, and I've made him go to Farm Foods for toilet roll. So that's ticked off the list, and no more jobs required. I could even sit and pack diamond dust drills. I might save that for through the week though I don't know because it's supposed to rain. Luna loves it when I spend all day doing stock and bits in the shop when it's sunny, because she loves to sundog. She's very much a sundog, and the doorway of the shop gets the afternoon sun. So she just sits in the doorway and just basks in the sun and absolutely loves it if I'm sat in the shop doing something like packaging diamond dust drills. She is in her element. However, the weather is about to go downhill, so we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what I fancy. Anyway, I hope everybody else is having a really, really good weekend. So far, I'm classing it as a good weekend. I've got all my jobs done and I've got a free day. So that's a plus for me. Also, finally got an order finalised that I feel like's been dragging on for weeks, for things, designs to be confirmed. But yeah, that's finally got finalised and is now into production stage, which makes me very excited. And yeah. So let me know what you've been up to this weekend, whether you've had a productive weekend or whether you've had a much needed lazy weekend. because lazy weekends are often needed as much as busy ones. And I'm going to head over to comments from last week's Whip and Waffle. The first comment I've actually got, the oldest comment, is actually from a Heaven and Earth design video, but it's about the Heaven and Earth design colours on Pattern Keeper. So I'm going to save that one to read on Thursday. I am just going to tip out all the rest of these diamonds. Have got a bit of static on these, just a little bit. It's like the last of my big box. This is box number 2. I still have a full box left for the rest. So I do have a few that are being a little bit staticky, but that's fine. We'll pinch all the ones we can multi-place for now, and then I'll fill in some of the gaps. I want that one off. It's huge. It's not the right size diamond. It's bigger. But Liv, she says, hello Zesties and Rebecca. She says she was just looking at her photos on her phone today, and she has Cyril, she said, in her stash. She said, so it is great seeing him come to life. He is so good. It's actually really enjoyable. I have done some bits where I've multi-placed, some where I haven't. It's not all bright colours. It tends to depend on the actual colour as to whether it's, you know, a more dominant colour in the painting and you can get away with multi-placing, or whether it's one that you sort of have to single place because there's just not many of them at all. But I feel like it's been a nice mix. A nice mix of the two, that's for sure. Of course, white is a lot of multi-placing, which is making it a lot quicker than some of my earlier ones will have been, because I wasn't multi-placing when I did my last ones. Cat's Gallery said she's just come back from Daniel Island. It's a ferry ride from Charleston, South Carolina. She says it was so beautiful and so was the tennis. That sounds like a very good weekend. I mean, I feel good this weekend because I've been productive and got some things off my list that have sort of been annoying me a little bit. But I wouldn't say my weekend has been an exciting weekend because it's involved cleaning. It's involved a lot of cleaning. Will did take Luna out for a walk so I could mop my floors without her freaking out. I'm sure she thinks the mop's going to eat her. But it is a steam mop, so it does sort of hiss a little bit. Maybe she just thinks it's a cat. She doesn't like cats. Okay, hang on. Just bodge that up well and truly. You get in there and straighten up. So yeah, I think I'd have much rather been sat there watching the tennis, especially with the weather today. But I did say to Will earlier, because he often likes to relax on a Saturday. And then he'll go do stuff on a Sunday. So like tomorrow he'll be like, okay, yeah, what do I need to go do? Go do this, go do that. He'll go pick up bits, whatever else. And if the lawn needed mowing, he'd have wanted to do that tomorrow instead. Whereas I'm very much, no, get all the jobs done on a Saturday, because then I don't have to sit and look at them when I have the day off on the Sunday. The day off from any chores. I don't have to sit and look at the jobs and think that needs doing tomorrow, that needs doing tomorrow. I can just chill. So, yeah, two different mindsets. But he did do quite a few bits this afternoon once he realised the plan I had. After he'd had a little bit of chill time. Sorry, trying to sometimes it starts to get a little bit tricky as to how many I need, and I'm fighting static drills. So I think I might have to go to single placing in a minute, and just single place a load of this rather than fight around static drills, because I keep dropping drills. Luckily, I know that I have plenty, and now I've managed to get too many on my pen. Try that. Right, I'm going to go to single placing. Cat lady, she says, hi Rebecca. She says she has made a start on her craft room. She says they have built her 2 desks. They have filled the bookcase and eventually built the yarn storage shelves. That's always the thing when it's like a new room and new furniture. It's all the building. It's all the building. When we came back from IKEA, luckily Megan's friend helped build a couple of units, so we had sort of a mini production line, but they weren't like complicated units in any way. It was literally a box. It was even easier to build than a Billy bookcase type build. But yeah, it's the building, and by the time you finish building, you end up exhausted, and don't want to sort stuff out. She says they have discovered that our plan isn't going to fully work, as the door opening on the left into the room, she said, is making it very difficult. She says she needs to go back to her squared paper. She said if only she could find it. That is the thing. If you can't find your squared paper, maybe what you need to do is measure out your boxes for the furniture that you've got, and cut them out, and then draw on a plain piece of paper the size of your room and just keep shuffling things about. We sort of did that, but we actually used PowerPoint to do it. We just drew boxes in PowerPoint that was the equivalent in millimeters instead of centimeters, and then drew like a box the size of the room when we were setting up the shop. So we did the size of the room and then did all the furniture pieces and just kept messing and moving them about. We even drew ourselves some little arrows for walkway space to allow enough room to move, you know, because sometimes you think, oh yeah, I can nudge that a bit closer, and then you go and you realise that you actually can't fit a person in that gap. So we made some little arrows that were people-sized gaps, so we could mess about. Because we managed to do all of that while we were waiting for it to be built, and it worked really well because we were able to determine where we wanted the plug sockets and things so that they could do that, and we knew exactly where we wanted them to go. We may have covered one of them up since, but you know, we're all for more storage. Right, just checking I haven't missed any round here. Now I'm going single placing. I can sort of follow the line. So yeah, maybe try that. If you are computer savvy, PowerPoint is a good one because you can just create text boxes and just colour in your text boxes in different colours, or even write in them what each piece of furniture is, and have a little mess about and see what will fit where before you end up moving everything around, and see what works. Or can you rehang the door on the other side or take it off? Does that work? I can't remember the plan off the top of my head as to whether you could get the door to open the other way, but could be a possibility. Liv, she says, thanks for reading my comments. She says it will be Melbourne they are emigrating to. Oh, fantastic. That's near where my family is. They are near Melbourne. I say near because they're like half an hour, and an hour and a half away. But in the grand scheme of things, they are near to Melbourne. But yeah, I really enjoy visiting Melbourne. I just think it's lovely. Aaliyah, she says, replying to Grey Legrand, she says, oh my, she says she is very glad her milk was known. She says today she did a food shop. She says med boxes and impulsively dusted down her power and manual wheelchair. Gotta love those impulsive things, because sometimes I think they're just sat on your brain without you quite realising. And by just getting them done, you just takes that off your brain, stops it popping back into your brain at random times when you can do naff all about it. But it's not urgent enough to do straight away. It's always good to get those things ticked off. I did a few of those today as well when I was tidying up. It was like, nope, I'm going to deal with this. I'm not going to just put it on a to-do later pile. I'm just going to do it and get it done. If it took less than 5 minutes, it was getting done. She says brain-wise and processing things, she says, is still very, very difficult. She says, which is causing her long episodes of dissociation. She says essentially it's her brain pulling the off button. She says, which means she's losing hours at a time, she says, and no idea of what she did or didn't do. Oh, that's not good. I can imagine that is frustrating and probably makes it worse because it's getting frustrating. She says she had her therapy session this week. She says, and she has zero memory of what she discussed. She says usually she has a key point or some sort of concept that she remembers. She says even if she doesn't remember all the ins and outs. Sorry, because I have got static drills, it is taking me a little bit on some of these because the drills are upside down, not because, well, it is because they won't shake into the lines of the tray, but it's because the static's not letting them. So I'm taking the time to sort of let them get stuck on the side of my pen and get them to turn over so that I can get them stuck on the canvas. And then they won't give me any more static problems. I could probably just run them over the dryer sheet, but I'm here now. I don't mind single placing. So it's just the way I sort of strategically run my way through a lot of the static drills. Is I have some drills that don't have any static and are quick, and then I'll do a few that are a bit more of a pain and sort of flip between the two. And it's my little happy zone out place a little bit. Anyway, so she says this time nothing. She says uni work has been sort of paused again this week. She says, but with deadlines at the end of April and early May, she says she's not sure how she's going to manage. Deep breaths and one at a time. You can only do what you can do. And you need to learn to, I suppose, accept that, realise that, acknowledge that, and then move forward the best way that you can. I think that's the only thing that you can do, really. But, you know, you can't make things happen that either can't happen or you don't have the time to complete all. And yeah, acceptance of that is often the hardest part. Right, just doing a quick check for any before I move over to the next part that has even more white, because we have white everywhere. She says in regards to her uni ID, she says not unlocking the doors. She says she went to the student hub, she said, to get it reset. She says this semester, she says her ID hasn't been scanning her into lectures, and no one can work out why. She says her lecturers have to do it manually for her. She said it was perfectly okay for her first year of uni, and the first semester of her second year. She says then there seems to be something about the second semester. She says most things around me seem to be saying, okay, let's just make everything just a little bit off and a little bit more difficult. Sounds like it. Well, going and getting it reset is one step on the way to get rid of the niggly annoyances that something can be done. And if you can get rid of the niggly annoyances, then the bigger things won't seem as big or as hard, should I say. They will seem easier if the niggly little things are gone. And I think that's why I've loved having a day today where I've just pottered, because I don't feel like there's lots and lots of niggly little things there to annoy me. And I can enjoy, you know, the day tomorrow, not looking around and seeing bits that I need to do. So yeah, well done on getting your ID sorted. Get that little niggle out the way. Okay, hang on. Ooh. My grip mat needs a wash. It's been used so much, it needs a wash. It's not as sticky as it once was. Trudy, she says she doesn't like needles. She said so, of course, she has to inject herself with insulin and do fingerprint tests. See, another one of those little annoyances that is just there. I mean, it's harder for you to get rid of that one, but it is. It's just there. You just need to say, you are not annoying me for the rest of my life. You're going to be easy. You need to think of something fun when you have to do it to make it nicer to do. She says blood tests are worse though. Yes, blood tests definitely are. They're harder to look away from as well. They're harder to sort of not see happening out the corner of your eye, and you can often feel them more, which is what's also not good. Okay, scooting up. See, here's where you see I've just got the bit of the tail and just the top part of Cyril, and then we're back on more white, which is why I thought let's just do a white kind of day. I just expected to do a bit more multi-placing, but once I've got through this tub I can multi-place my heart away with the next one, because all the static ones tend to stay stuck inside the tub and don't get on my nerves. Lady Dax, she says she'll look forward to my unboxing of the other type of e-painter. Yes, it's on its way. I don't know how long or if I've got a due date on it. I don't think I have. Though I did move the email out my inbox so that I'd stop stalking it. I figured I'll just get excited when it turns up. So yeah, it will be fun to give that a go. And maybe it'll just be a pen that I get out for when it comes to ABs, maybe. I'm not exactly sure. I guess it depends on how it works and what it's like. Okay, I was going to get rid of that diamond because it had a little nub of something on it and it's dropped in with all the rest of them. Testing me is what it is. It's testing me. She says she finally got a new laptop on Thursday, and then she spent just over 2 hours on a video chat with her son. She said so he could talk me through how to set it up. Love it. Absolutely love it. She says she is a real technophobe. I don't think you're that bad. If you had to wait for your son to arrive to do it for you and wouldn't touch it and give it a go, then maybe you could take technophobe. The fact that you were happy to do it, you just wanted some guidance to walk you through it. I don't know if that class is as full technophobe. I think you're doing well, considering technology is constantly changing, and it is not something that we grew up with, you know, as a standard. We grew up, or at least I grew up with the, you know, go outside and play until the street lights come on. That was my kind of day. Kim, she says, boy, she says, wouldn't it be nice, she says, to actually have an order that would need the tariff fee. She says an $800 order would be sweet. That is true. That is true. There is a way that you can get a UK tariff charge, but you would need to order over $800 worth. So I can imagine that would be a sweet order to unpack. That's for sure. But yeah, I guess time will tell what happens with tariffs, etc. But at the moment, you should, unless they drop the $800 being tariff free, which is not all countries. I think China and Hong Kong, they've removed that, but for the UK and everywhere else, they haven't. But yeah, time will tell if that changes. I am really, really hoping it doesn't, because I have noticed that US orders have dropped off, which I expected, and I understand. When, you know, there's uncertainty on, you know, whether essentials are going to be costing more because of tariffs and how they will sort of trickle down the line in, you know, different avenues of purchases. I completely get why some people are, you know, cutting the luxury spending. But yeah, I have noticed that it has gone down. I'm hoping there's nothing else imposed that will hit it even more, because small businesses in the UK are already struggling. And yeah, I want to keep things going as long as I can, that's for sure. She also says, that idea, she says, for your memory quilt, she says, is so cool. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like it. I don't even know what made me come up with the idea. I think it was because I didn't want to have, and I still don't particularly want to have loads and loads of scraps left over, because yeah, I enjoy picking out, you know, the colours of fabrics and I enjoy having enough to be able to, you know, do whatever pattern I want and things like that, or at least have a choice of patterns I can do with the fabrics that I've got. And I know there's a lot of patterns that can do scrappy quilts, and I might get to that point at some point. But I have very limited storage. I don't have storage to store a load of fabrics that in effect I've already made a quilt with and look at them and see that quilt. So yeah, I thought making a memory quilt is actually a really good way to get through a chunk of scraps. And then I have started putting my scraps into other size pieces. And I'll, you know, make a scrappy quilt potentially in the future. But my quilting storage, so how I store all my quilting stuff, that video is coming up next week. So I think members can access it already, but it is available for everybody else. It might actually be Tuesday. I think when I'd originally scheduled it, it was a Friday, but I had to shuffle things about. But anyway, it is coming up at some point this week. So you will be able to see the blocks that I am talking about putting into a quilt of quilts that I've made. Sammy Lou, she says, good morning, Rebecca. She says her lovely children woke her up at 6 a.m. this morning. Oh my goodness me. That is frightening. She says she would love to know where they get their energy from. Yes, I do think energy levels, and especially the energy levels that children have, should, you know, wouldn't it have been nice if, you know, that was spread through the ages maybe, so that we all had a certain sort of stamina energy level and didn't have to wonder where it had disappeared to at later times in our lives. I feel like I've had a good day today because I've not stopped in the amount of stuff I've got done. But I also have visions of paying for that tomorrow and not having any energy at all. I don't know where kids get it from. Oh, she says her 6-year-old daughter won her speech cup in school last week. Absolutely awesome. She says she's so proud of her. She said, as for a 2-year-old, she says 2-year-old chaos. She says she has now stopped medicine and hasn't been sick since. She says she is so glad. She's so glad the medicine worked, she says, and her black eye is healed. Second child, that, isn't it? Second child syndrome. I had one of those. Well, I still have one of those. She's just calmed down a little bit from the whirlwind she used to be. She says also, she says she was wondering if maybe I could tell her where she can get a Heaven and Earth design, as she would love to give it a try. So it's a cup from a couple of different sort of places. But Heaven and Earth Design is actually a shop that sells cross-stitch charts. So if you type in Heaven and Earth Design, you will get their website. So that's where I've got the chart from that will work in Pattern Keeper. They're all full stitches, which means you can place a diamond in it. There's no back stitches, which of course we can't do with diamonds. So yeah, it is Heaven Earth Design is the website, and then you will either need to use your spare diamonds or order some diamonds. And then order a canvas separately. You can get canvases on Heaven Earth Design's website as well. They have started offering that. It's sort of, I think a third party does it, but it's all done through their website. So you can get a canvas from them if you want and do it that way. But yeah, I have got videos on it. Easiest way to find them is go to my website, and under resources there is videos, and there's a section for Heaven and Earth Design, and in there you'll find my original video where I'm like looking at the website, showing you on Heaven and Earth Design website to get the chart, and I've got sort of all the process I went through before I started my very big heaven earth design. So that's probably the best place to go. She also has added, she says today, she says the 8th of April. She says she has a blood test, she says, and she can't stand them. She said her arm is going numb, knowing it's coming. Oh, bless. She says she remembers when she was pregnant with her first daughter. She says she was getting a blood test in the antenatal clinic, and she was whimpering like a dog, she says, because he put the wrong needle in. Ooh. She says, and then had to take it out and do it again. She says the bruises on her arms, she says, were ridiculous. She says she never went there again. Don't blame you at all. I'm with you. Completely with you on that one. Ooh. See, all these, it's primarily static that won't let them move. So I keep shaking them just to try, but if not, I'm just going to turn the other ones over. It's the last of them now. Last of them in here, and then I'm done. She also says she also went to the blood clinic in the hospital. She says she can't stand the word blood either. She says it makes her shudder. Oh, bless. And I've just repeated it about 4 times by reading out your comments, so I do apologise. Hopefully it is all done and dusted. Did you say it was? Yeah. So you've actually had it. So hopefully the word won't trigger you as much, because it should all be done and over with now. And I hope it went so much better, and will give you some relief for your next time. Amanda, she says, hi Rebecca. She says, where do you get your baggies from for your diamond dust drills? Those are actually from a supplier we have in Hong Kong. We have to order them quite a few thousand at a time. I don't know of anywhere that does them in smaller amounts. But yeah, we order them by the thousands, and they actually come from Hong Kong. Ooh. Right, I've got one more diamond, or one more potentially static diamond. I've got a few little bits of trash, and now I am on my last tub. Leah, she's watching an old Whip and Waffle. It's actually one from Mr. Quackers. Oh, another Splatterworks. Mr. Quackers, love him. She says this week she's going to do an hour attempting to get assignments done. She says followed by an hour of diamond painting. She says then back to an hour of study and then diamond painting. Sometimes that is a good way to go. It's like do a little bit and then get a reward, and then do a bit more. Oh, I thought that was only 3, but it's not, it's 4. Yeah, and sort of reward yourself as you go along with a little bit more diamond painting. And diamond painting's a good thing as well, because it'll help you calm your brain. You can still think about your assignment while you're doing it. Think about what you're going to write or what you need to research for the next part of your assignment. So you can still think about it, but it gives your brain a chance to process it. Well, we've only got a few more comments on the Whip and Waffle. But Mysterious Days, she says, hi Rebecca and Zesties. She says, long time no see. She says, life has been busy. She says, with spring cleaning and focusing on other crafts. She says diamond painting is becoming more of a side hobby as she works on her crochet crocheting, and she's recently got into threaded friendship bracelets, colouring and cross stitch. Oh, you, sorry, saving on me. You've got a busy old time there with all the hobbies. Sometimes I feel like I could pick up that many hobbies and then I have to have a stern talking to myself and say, but you won't get to do the ones you do now that you do still enjoy if you pick up another one. But yeah, it can be so tempting to pick up more. Oh, I've still got a couple more. Couple more single ones. Right, I'm just having a scan over. I've just spotted one over here that I've missed. The question is, was Kim shouting at me? Or not? I'm just having a reshuffle on my desk because I need to move my laptop to the other side so I can scoot this over. This is how I ended up doing this big strip on a monster session the other night. I was like, oh, I'll just do that little bit there. I'll just do that little bit there. And I ended up doing a full stretch. So I'm going to basically do all this white and then we'll see if I end up sitting down and doing some more, because it's still it's early-ish evening time and it's a weekend, so I could, after this whip and waffle, just decide to finish this full strip and then I might just sit and do more tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see. My brain won't be able to make its mind up until tomorrow. So unfortunately she is quite behind, she says, on this little world. She said especially since the last few months she's been focusing on her religion in her free time and watching lots of true crime videos. Ooh, interesting mix. She says, anyway, she says on the 16th of this month, she says she has her first behind the wheel driving lesson. She said, and she is trying not to be nervous. She says, but she's admittedly nervous. She says, as it is her first time driving, she says, since she wrecked her mum's car. She says she feels her heart race, she says, when she has to sit behind the wheel. She says with the car parked to run the engine. She says since we don't go out a ton. She says, please send me prayers, vibes, stories, she says, to help calm her nerves. She says especially since it's through a driving school. She says, and it's her first time meeting the instructors too. That can be hard. I get that that's hard. And as much as anybody that drives knows, it gets easier, it gets better. You know, you get to the point where it does, to a certain extent, become a second nature. Of course, you still need to, you know, watch where you go in and all the rest, and watch everybody else and all the rest of that. But you know, what your feet are doing and what your hands are doing and all that sort of stuff becomes very much second nature, which takes the pressure off. Whereas, of course, you'll be getting in the car, not only are you nervous, it's then you're thinking what your hands are doing, what your feet are doing, and all the rest of it. So all I can say is take deep breaths, explain to the instructor if you are nervous and what you're nervous about. When I learned to drive, or when I finally decided, right, this is happening, because I'd had periods of time where I took lessons and then I'd stop for one or another reason and I'd pick it back up again. When I finally decided enough is enough, I am getting this sorted, I was very much able to tell the driving instructor what it was that I was like, okay, you are telling me all these maneuvers and all these things I need to do, and it's like I can't concentrate on that because I'm too busy thinking about the clutch. And that's what it was for me. We learn manual, primarily learn manual over here, and primarily drive manual cars. So for me, it was just getting to grips with the clutch, and the instructor was great. He was like, okay, let's go here and let's sort that out. And all it took was that one lesson to get it mastered so that my brain didn't keep thinking about it. And then it was great. I could then concentrate on everything else that I needed to learn. So don't be afraid to explain. They can't guess. Sometimes they might be able to guess, but they're never going to truly know. So yeah, just talk about it. You know, they'll then be able to take it easy, explain things in a way that help, and it will definitely get a whole lot better over time. But well done you for taking that first step, because it's often that is the hardest. She also says, on the note of the suction diamond painting pen, she says she's seen it online, she says, and she hasn't been overly curious for it. She says, as the thin normal pens that come in the kit, she says, tends to make a hand cramp since she grips tight. She says, but she does wonder how it would work with multi-placing for ABs. She says, has anyone tried multi-placing with them, and if so, how many, and how well did it work? And then she says, lastly, she says, how have you all been doing? She says she's missed us, she says, and she is so glad to be back. She says now to continue working on inserting cardstock in her drill storage and sticking labels on her dividers. Good bit of organisation. Organisation's a lovely way to get back into a craft. It gets you familiar with everything again. Yeah, just, you know, remind you of what you have, don't have, what diamond paintings you've got, what diamonds you've got. Just gets you in for the all the feels of it all. But yeah, doing good. Have enjoyed a week of glorious weather. I'm not looking forward to the miserable weather the next week. But at least my house is clean and tidy, and jobs have been done today, which means it will be a lot easier to cope with with the potentially miserable weather, because I won't have that playing on my mind at the same time. So I'll take that for a win. She also says, hearing the story about losing a chicken from the freezer. Oh, get off the pen. She says, reminds me of the rabbit. She says they had a fully dead and prepared to cook frozen rabbit in the freezer. She says, and somehow, some way, she said it straight up disappeared. She says they joke that it hopped out. She says because we have moved the freezer. She says they have fully cleaned it out multiple times. They have looked over everything. She says one day it was there and then one day it wasn't. She says just poofed. She said they have zero clue where it went or how it disappeared, even years later. So there we go. We have a rabbit that's definitely hopped away somewhere and completely disappeared. Sometimes things happen that you just never find out an answer for. Never find out exactly what happened. Or sometimes you find out but not until years and years later, when all of a sudden somebody admits to knowing the whole time. Julie says, for the person who had a bad Mother's Day, they said in France this year Mother's Day is on the 25th of May, and she says feel free to celebrate it this day. Oh, that is beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, celebrate. France is close enough, even if it's not, to be honest. Even if it isn't a country that is close enough, France is more than willing to share its Mother's Day with you and just have a redo. And just, you know, who's to say it has to be on a certain day for the year? Pick a day that suits you and your family and the stage you are in life, and go with that. Okay, I think I've got one more comment that's on a whip and waffle. I do. So we're going to read this comment, and then I think my battery's getting low as well. So I'm going to call it a day wherever I'm up to. Not quite sure if I'm going to get all this finished. We'll see. I do waffle. So we might get all the white done. But it's Corinne. She says, hi, Rebecca and Zesties. Oh, sorry, let me get that twofer. And then I'm actually going to tip some more diamonds in. She says she's finally trying to get her fitness back up to snuff. She says after her foot surgery. She says it's much harder than it was when she was younger. Everything feels so much harder than when we were younger. She says especially after being so sedentary. She says the last few years. She says but she's doing chair exercises. She says, and it is going wellish, she says, depending on how she's feeling, which I get. Some days we're like a spring chicken, and other days we are not. So I completely get that. I think hormones have a lot to answer for that. Though I say that, I think it's just because I don't see hubby have as many ups and down days as I do, so I'm blaming hormones for that one. But yeah, I do feel like I am, when I wake up in the morning, I don't know what person I'm going to be that day. She says she has a trick for placing ABs. She says she likes to single place them. She says she doesn't know why, but it works well for her brain. And that is the thing. Do what works for your brain. There's no point in making it work for anybody else's brain because they're not doing it. She says she puts a tiny glue dot, she says, in the other side of the pickup pens. So you know the diddy part. She says, and it works great. She says it is enough to hold the diamond. She says, without worrying you'll lose it on the way to your painting. She says, but it's a small enough surface area that it doesn't take off any of the coating. She says, maybe that'll help someone else. I like the idea of trying that one. You get the stickiness of the glue dot that you want, because glue dots are great, last ages. But with wax and AB diamonds, the wax lasts even less than it does with normal diamonds because it's pulling the coating off. But I do like the idea that it is a small enough hole that it doesn't pull the coating off. I might have to give that one a go as well. I mean, the wax pickup pens are really good for ABs. I find I get so much time before I feel as though I might give it a little brush to you know, make sure there's no residue and make sure it'll pick up again. It's so much better than using wax in a pen. But I do like the idea of using the glue dot in the small parts, and I can see how that would work well. Like, it makes sense in my brain. So I think I'm going to have to give that a go. It's got one diamond it's got a little bit of a nub of plastic on, which is fine because it all still fits in and nestles in, but it wasn't straight. Okay, my battery is flashing at me, so forgive me for leaving it there, but I am going to do those 3 off camera because I don't want to pull my camera down to change my battery to put it back up again. So thank you so much for joining me for today. Okay, my battery did it anyway. It's still, I should have known, I should have just said bye and been done. It cut me off part way through saying goodbye. So I've had to pull my camera down, change my battery and put it back up again. So I may as well, I feel like, because that was my reason I wasn't going to finish these 4 rows, and that reason has now been taken away. I'm going to finish these 4 rows because they won't take that long with multi-placing, and then we would have done a full strip of white all the way across. I've still got a ton of white in my tray. In my tray I've still got a ton of white left from the kit, which is going to be plenty to do that top section. It's actually amazing how many you can get through when doing them, so I have no fear of running out, but it will be surprising to see how far down that tub I get by the time I get to the end of the white up there. But yeah, I may as well get it finished, and then I might carry on with the colour tonight. I might not, I'm not sure. I know I'm having a brew first. No matter what I do, I am going and making myself a coffee first. I was going to make one before starting this whip and waffle, and then I thought, no, I'll have one afterwards as a treat. Okay, I've finished that white. I do like to give the diamonds on the edge, ooh, just a little nudge and straighten, just in case there is 1 or 2 that are not quite straight down the edge. I find it makes things look a lot better. And there we go. So let's put the pen over there. It's very weird doing just one colour in a whip and waffle though. I'm so used to switching things about. Are we all out? We're all out. But yeah, I have done the white across that strip. There is still quite a few colours. It is going to be quite confetti, so it wouldn't surprise me if that still takes quite a while. But once that's done, I'm then at the stage where I will start taking 2 pieces off, because it's only like a piece and a half. So excited, because I love a finish as much as I love a start. I love a start, I love a finish, and then I get to do a start again. So yeah, this might be in my future tonight, because we are getting close people, to getting this done. There's actually not that much black left either. And if I can get this done, and then I might try and get the white done, and we'll finish the last of the colour, because there's some sections there, but there's like not huge sections left. We'll see, we'll see. I might get too excited and get it finished, and we'll have to do a paint gem or something. Anyway, I am going to go now. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll speak to you all again soon.